Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to talk about the books I read in March. Alright y'all, so first and foremost, let me get this out the way. There's people out here mowing, so you may hear some background noise, but we here. I'm not feeling the best today, so, you know, you may not see me as enthusiastic. I'm really tired and just haven't been feeling great. So this may not have as many details on books as I want it to be, but I'm just going to say what I can and do the best I can in this, just so I can have this done. So, yeah, this is the only time I really have to film this, so I just want to go ahead and get it over with. So with the logistics out the way, let's first talk about like the reading challenges and where I'm at with certain things for this year. I keep forgetting to mention these in some of my wrap-ups. So first and foremost is Jeanette, Jane Reads, has her Christian fiction reading challenge, and for March, it was a book that's set in a place you want to visit. And I read Alaskan Rescue by Terry Reid, and so I'll put that picture on the screen, but I talked about that in my mid-month wrap-up, which, by the way, forgot to say that too. I've already talked about some of the books I've read in March in a mid-month wrap-up. I'll leave that down below for you to check out if you've not seen it, but talked about several books there, and that was one of them. That was the first book I actually read in March, and I would love to go visit Alaska, so that was perfect for the prompt. And then in April is a new to you author, and I forgot to say this in TBR, but I think Cheryl Bostrom is going to be the pick for that, because I've never read anything by her, and this is the book Leaning on Air is the arc I have to read by her, so that will count for that prompt. So hopefully I'll get that done in April like I need to, but if not, I can fit the prompt somewhere else, probably. Katie over Paperbacks and Ponytails has her Around the World readathon, and for March it was a character you would bring on a trip, and I picked Eloise from My Lucky Charm by Courtney Walsh. I already talked about that book in my mid-month wrap-up as well, and Eloise would just be the perfect person to take on a trip. She's so bubbly and fun and outgoing. I would love that. That'd be awesome. And for April, it's a book you would take on vacation. I don't know what I'm gonna pick for that yet, but there'll be something. So there's that, and maybe it'd be Love in Tandem. That might work. So that sounds like a fun little beach read or vacation book read, you know what I'm saying? So, and then for Oshina's Christian Romance Reading Challenge, she doesn't have like monthly prompts right now, but I have been trying to fill in the prompts as I go, and I'll kind of show you like where I'm at with it. I haven't put the pictures in for these two yet, but that's what I'm planning on picking for those prompts. A cute cover, probably gonna be Love in Tandem, in a series, Nature of a Lady, and so then I'll just have 4 prompts left on her bingo board here. And so then we have Chantel's reading challenge from Chantel Reads All Day, and that is for March. It was to read a book with more than 2 point of views, and I picked Refugee by Alan Gratz. I already talked about that again in my mid-month wrap-up. You can tell I forgot to tell y'all about the reading challenges in the mid-month wrap-up anyway, so that's why we're doing this here. So for April, it is a main character that has red hair, and I don't know what I'm gonna read, y'all. I don't know. I'll just have to kind of wait and see if I find a character that has red hair in one of the books I read. How about that? So there's that. So that's kind of where I'm at with the annual reading challenges that I'm participating in and everything. So for middle grade March, if you double up prompts, I guess I did do a one-word title, which is Refugee, but I don't really know if you were allowed to double up prompts. I think so, so I guess we could say that. But really, Refugee was for the immigration or refugee story for that prompt. And at a debut, I didn't get to read The Winter King like I wanted to, so that'll just have to be on hold. Animal on the cover, I read A Whale of the Wild, and we'll talk about that here in this video. And a book you missed out on was Fish in a Tree. I did talk about that in the mid-month wrap-up, so yeah. But I read a lot more middle grade in general anyway, so we here. Mystery Madness, I really don't even know what I completed the prompts for. I guess 9 in the title or the cover. I had like the Alaska Rescue Canine series. The cat on the cover, I didn't get that one. British Mystery, I did get A Royal Pain by Rhys Bowen, and one for Janelle, we could say the prequel for that, because I know she really enjoyed that series, the prequel for Rhys Bowen's Her Royal's Finest series, but I didn't get to complete books 3 and 4 this month like I wanted to, so, you know, a little ambitious here, so I'm happy that I at least got 2 of those books done out of that series, so that'd be great, and I can continue on later, and that's really all I did for March Mystery Madness that I can, like, think of, so Didn't do too much mystery this time, but it's okay. I did have like some romantic suspense this month that might could have counted, but I just hadn't even really tried to fit the prompt on that, so it is what it is. So anyway, now we've talked for about 6 minutes, 5 minutes if I cut some things out, of what I've read for the prompts of different things. Let's just talk about the books I've read since my last video for the mid-month wrap-up. If you're not seeing it, again, like I said, it'll be linked down below, but we're gonna go ahead and dive into what I've read since that video. One thing I want to mention that I forgot to say in my April TBR is Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails is doing a Christian fiction readathon called the Shower Me with Flowers Spring Readathon. And so I will link her video down below all about it. But I forgot to mention that I'm going to try to fit the prompts in any Christian fiction books that I read this month for that. So just check her video out if you want to participate in that this month as well. The first book I read since that last video you all watched was Patti Callahan, Once Upon a Wardrobe. I had a vlog where I talked about this book, so I will link that if you have not seen it, but I really enjoyed this book. It was 5 stars for me. If you love Narnia, you're definitely gonna love this book. It is so just emotional but real and raw, and I absolutely love the characters. Sorry, I had to kind of move around a little bit, but this was a beautiful story filled with just the essence of Narnia, and I loved it. The storytelling was perfect. I need to read everything by Patti now. I have several of her books on my shelves, and so I cannot wait to read more by her. This was filled with love and family, and just the ties to Narnia and C.S. Lewis are truly immersive. The story is all about a college student named Meg and her younger brother George. His last wish as a terminal ill young boy, he's 8 years old, he has a weak heart, is to uncover the truth of Narnia and where did it come from. And so the greatest thing about this is Meg actually is a college student where she can actually talk to C.S. Lewis because he's a teacher at Oxford there, and there is just this great sibling bond that Meg and George have, that she'll do anything to fulfill his last wish. And you really get to see Meg start to uncover more about herself in this, just not just about Narnia, but because at first she's not really like into it. She reads it, loves it, and then starts to open up herself and realize that it's not just a children's story. The way that C.S. Lewis responds to her questions was also really great because you get to see her really trying to figure things out and form her own conclusions, and that led to what led to his inspiration for Narnia. And so she takes these stories home to George, and the adventure kind of goes on from there. Cried. You can see my tears in the vlog if you've not seen it. I think that the family connection in this is great as well with George and his parents, and of course Meg and the relationship that they have. So I highly recommend this if you're a Narnia fan. You're gonna love it. Next book, I had to move my blanket, it fell. But the next book that I read was If the Boot Fits by Witemeyer. I gave this 4.5 stars. This is book 2 in the Texas Ever After series, and this is a great second book in the series. Absolutely loved it. This is a Cinderella fairy tale retelling with a Western spin, and it was so good. This could be read as a standalone, they say, but like I really recommend reading book 1 first, just to kind of get yourself immersed in this series. It's so good. But in this one, we have Samantha Daring, and she's going to this ball that her father is hosting to find her a match, and she's not really excited about doing any of that. She's like, I don't want to do this. So she ends up taking a break from the ball, and she finds a thief fleeing her home. And so the stranger, which is named Asher, he was looking in Samantha's father's study or whatever room, something like that, for documentation regarding the rent payments that they've been making. And since her father was going to be evicting his family from their property, while Asher is running away from the property because he's almost caught here, he sees Samantha's brother Clint in distress in the water drowning, and he saves his life. And so no one saw him, they don't know who he is, but his boot got left behind. And so Samantha decides that she's going to find a man that the boot fits. And so Samantha and Asher end up crossing paths. She's tutoring his brother, but then they see that someone's kind of after Samantha for some reason, so Asher is just devoted to protecting her at all costs. Feelings start to emerge, and the story goes on from there. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Great Christian Western historical romance with a fairy tale spin. The romance was very sweet. I like the faith elements throughout the story. The twist in this was not one that I saw coming at all. The fairy tale elements itself were very light, but I really liked the way that it was weaved in. It kind of made it its own unique story, and I wasn't really sure how I felt about the twist. Honestly, I think that might be why it's not quite 5 stars. It's close, but I was okay with it. So we talk about this in a vlog as well, the same vlog where I talked about Once Upon a Wardrobe. So if you haven't seen it, it's again linked below. So yeah, next book I read was for a book club that I'm in with Tammy at the Protagonist Pub. She has a book club. I'll link the Discord down below if you want to participate. But we read Recorder this month, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars, kind of like I said about TBR, you know, a little spoiler there. I was 5 stars with it. This is a sci-fi, Christian sci-fi book, and I'm not really a sci-fi person, but am I now? I don't know. This book is book 1 in a Christian sci-fi series that is really like not heavy sci-fi, so it's definitely one that's easy for anybody to kind of get into. They call it sci-fi with heart. I'm not someone who reads the sci-fi genre. Because I have a fear of like, am I going to understand what's going on? This was very easy to understand. You're immediately connected to your characters. Cathy, just the way she writes these characters, you're rooting for them the whole time, and the friendships that are made, you just love them so much. Cathy tugs at your heartstrings, truly, and you just really love the main character in this more than anything. She's a recorder, and she starts to realize that she has value for who she really is, and I can't say too much, like, kind of like Tammy said, like, this is one you really kind of want to go in blind a little bit, so I don't know, to quote the synopsis more than anything, I'll read it. Recorder has no family, friends, and no name. Donated to the consortium before birth, her sole purpose is to maintain and verify records. A neural implant and drone ensure compliance, punishing for displays of bias. Suddenly cut off from controlling technology, she tastes what it means to be human. But if the consortium discovers her feelings, everyone she knows will be in danger. And the story kind of goes on from there. So time kind of starts to run out for Recorder in all the events that take place. And so, like I said, from the very first chapter, you are immersed. I'm so glad this is a book club pick with my friends, because it really helped like enhance that experience while I was reading with them, helped me step out of my comfort zone. And it was something I really enjoyed. So if you're, like I said, if you're just even the least bit interested in sci-fi, I highly recommend this series. It's definitely one to check it out. It kind of ends where you need book 2, so make sure you have book 2 and 3 on deck, they say. So book 2 is coming today. I meant to get to it sooner, but I just haven't. The audiobooks are really great as well. That's how I listened to Recorder, was the audiobook, but I also had the physical copy, like on an ebook. I really needed that. So I think that if you do have the audiobook, you probably need a physical copy or an ebook, just so you can kind of like go in tandem with it, because there were some things I think I missed with some of like the time jumps a little bit. So either way, like I would have to like restart the audio chapter sometimes, where I didn't realize if I wasn't paying 100% attention. So that's just something to note. There are some faith elements in this. A great start to a sci-fi series, and I highly recommend. Next book I finished. I'm not going to go too much into detail about this because I already talked about it in my Easter video, but this is Uncovering the Love of Jesus by Asheritah. Ciuciu, Ciuciu. How you said that? I don't know. Anyway, I give it 3.5 stars. I enjoyed this overall. I think it's one that kind of can get your heart stirred for the Easter season. I think it's great for families. Has some really good family activities and scripture readings and daily devotions and everything. I picked this up because it was on my Kindle as one that I had purchased last year. So I'm trying to kind of go through some Kindle only owned books. That's one of my goals this year. And this was one that I picked. And so this one follows the story of Jesus, of course, leading up to his death on the cross and resurrection. And this has some really good basic discussions surrounding the gospel of Jesus and practical daily devotions and all those different things, prayers. So that was great, but there really wasn't anything groundbreaking for me in this one personally. So I probably would have liked a little more meat and potatoes, which we'll get to at the end of the video when I talk about It Is Finished by Charles Martin. That was definitely a 5-star. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But so yeah, for this one, it was just okay. It wasn't bad. It was just fine. And so I think it has some nice faith reminders and things. It's a good devotional to prepare your heart for Easter. And I would probably recommend this to someone who's new to their faith and would just like a good family devotional leading up to Easter. Next book I read was a middle grade book. I can't talk. The next book I read was a middle grade book, a Christian middle grade book, The Dreamkeeper Saga, book number 3, Lost in the Caverns by Catheryn Butler. I give this 4 stars. This was the, for me, this was what I chose for the prompt of our Christian book club, where we're just doing prompts now for a Christian middle grade or young adult book. And so this is the one that I picked because I needed to read it off my shelf, and I'm so glad I did. I really enjoyed this series. I think this is a great series that just truly represents the gospel for children. It is wonderful. And so in this one, we continue on with our 12-year-old dream keeper, Lily McKinley, and she embarks on a dangerous journey, as usual, through the desert of the forgotten to regain her ability to dream and spread Pax's message. Now, Pax is a character who represents Jesus in this book, and I just love the allegory with that. And so she is trying to spread his message. And so this book continues the themes of fantasy, Christian themes, allegory, and mystery throughout the series. Allegory shown in this directly relates to the gospel, especially in book 2. I really like the way they depicted it in book 2 and other theological conversations surrounding sacrifice, salvation, and evangelism. This one just had quite the adventure here. I love being back in this world with our characters, and I mean, I've had quite the break since book 2, so it was really nice to kind of be back with our characters here. In this, we have such a great allegory. There are characters who represent Satan as well, and the message of what the Lord has done for us is beautifully depicted in this series. And so if you like stories like Narnia, good versus evil, and great Christian themes, definitely pick this up. I've got to read book 4. I love the covers of these. Also, they are just gorgeous. And these kids, they are going on so many adventures. They're lost in the caverns, right? So there's so much going on. There's fun little animals, all these fun things. And it's one I really highly recommend. The next book I read is A Whale of the Wild by Rosanne Parry, and I give this 4 stars. This is a really great middle grade story that's told from an animal's point of view, as from a young orca whale that leads her brother on this crazy journey to be reunited with their pod. And so it was very interesting to read a book from an animal's point of view. Personally, I never really have read one like this before. I don't know how much I love it, but I still really enjoyed it, if that makes sense. Like, the discussions and everything that happened was great, but I think there were sometimes it was a little disjointed for me personally, being told from an animal's point of view, but I learned so much either way about young killer orca whales, is what they are. And so there was these great descriptions under the sea, what it could have been like from a whale's point of view, and there's all these themes of adventure, family bonds, survival, and just an ever-changing seascape is depicted in this, and you really see, like, from the animal's point of view of what it could be like at the bottom of the sea. And so Vega, which is the name of the orca whale that we're talking about here, her and her family, they eat salmon, and so she's just trying to learn how to be a salmon finder, lead the pack, all this stuff. And her and her brother kind of get separated from the pod when an earthquake and tsunami leave their area, just in shambles under the sea. And so they face hunger. There's all this unknown. Are they going to make it back? Will she be the leader that she needs to be? All that stuff. So overall, I really enjoyed the family bonds more than anything in this, and learning about the orca whales, as I really didn't know much about them. But honestly, I don't love how it ended. It kind of ended. It's like, what? I don't really know. I think I'm missing something. Like, is it just me? I feel like this ended and it needed more in the ending. So, personally, but I still really enjoyed it, and I definitely want to check out the one. I think there's another one like about a wolf or something, so I'll definitely check that out. So yeah, the next book I read was The Wild Robot by Peter Brown, and I give this 4 stars. Let me just say, there's a movie being made about this. I didn't even look at the trailer until after I read the book. The trailer, I'll link it below. It looks amazing. I got emotional. Actually, after reading the books, I got kind of emotional just watching the trailer. I don't know what it was. So I'm definitely going to be watching the movie. This is about Roz, the robot, who is in a shipment and a hurricane sinks her cargo ship. So she's the only robot that washes upon shore, and there's wildlife all over this island, and they're not too thrilled to see this robot show up. But she ends up adopting a goose after its parents die, and she becomes its mother and learns to speak and interact with these animals, building a relationship along the way. And so this book was such a delight to listen to. I will say the audiobook has a lot of like background music and stuff at the beginning and the end. At first I was like, okay, is this music going to go away? Because I just couldn't hear what was happening. It was too much. And so by I think chapter 3 or 4, it went away. So just an FYI, if you're like concerned about that, it does go away by chapter 3 or 4 or so, something like that. It was overall a delight to listen to. It really teaches us about nature, technology, family, friendship, and love. And at first you really don't connect to the robot. Like, I'm not really big on robots anyway, but I still really liked Roz, and she's somewhat personable after she kind of goes through all of this trying to raise her son, the goose. And so it's a bit like this survivals type story as well, reminiscent a little bit of Hatchet. I've heard people say, and I could see some of that. So but honestly, what I love the most about this story is the theme that family doesn't have to be blood. A mother doesn't have to be a blood related relative to be a mother, and that was just so well depicted in this. And so the ending was very emotional for me. I need to read the next one because the way it kind of ended, it's a little open-ended, like I need to know. And so I definitely want to read the next one. I'm so glad I read this, and I want to watch the movie. It looks so good. It looks so good. So definitely check out the trailer below if you've read this. It looks so good. It doesn't really spoil anything, I don't think, for me, because there's no dialogue in it. Like, that's the thing, what was so powerful about the trailer. Like, there wasn't any dialogue. It was just like left to interpretation. And if you've read the book, it really did like come to life, and I love that. So I can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to read the next one. 4 stars. The next book I read was Double Take by Lynette Eason. I actually listened to this on audio from the library, and then I had to purchase it because it was a favorite now. Okay, so look at me. 5 stars. This is book 1 in the Lake City Heroes series. I love this. It's a great start to a new Christian romantic suspense series. This is a fast-paced suspense story. You have best friends, brother trope, nice faith thread, crazy storyline in here of being stalked by your ex fiance that you thought was dead. What? Okay, so in this story, we have Detective James Cross, and he is working in the Lake City Police Department. He has a lot of crazy family stuff going on himself, so he's ended up rooming up with his friend and partner Cole. Cut to physician's assistant Lainey Jackson, who is 18 months, post her attempted murder by her ex, which ended when she grabbed the gun and killed him, or so she thought. Is he dead? What? He been dead this whole time, or so she thought, like I said. So is he back to finish the job? Crazy things are happening. They're questioning if he's dead or alive. Is someone pretending to be him? All this stuff going on, you know. And so James steps in to help solve the case and protect her. They, you know, have known each other for a long time. So that was something else that was really nice, because you know, you thought like they just got to know each other. He knew her from many years ago, because he is her best friend's brother. And so the connection that they had was really great. I think I wanted a little bit more of the romance together, but I still really enjoyed it. Still gave it 5 stars. It was this one that's going to just take you on the edge of your seat with the suspense aspect. The faith in this was really nice. The narrator was really good. Highly recommend the audiobook. As far as trigger warnings go, this has domestic violence, stalking, PTSD, and panic attacks, but it's not too much for me personally. Yeah, highly recommend this one. I'm definitely gonna read book 2 in the series. It comes out later this year. Last book I'm gonna talk about is the It Is Finished devotional for Easter by Charles Martin, and I already talked a little bit about this also in my Easter devotional. I read a portion of this in that video, and I just have to say this is probably the best Easter devotional I've ever read. Beautiful storytelling experience to the cross, and I loved walking back to the cross in each day with Charles Martin and what he wrote, and the prayers that he had in there were great. I think this one is so well needed, because the way that Charles Martin explains what Jesus truly went through, will touch you in such a way that it's almost like you're being told for the first time about his death. You get very emotional. There are tears reading through this. It's so well needed, because so many times I feel like we forget what he truly did for us and went through on the cross for us, for our sins, in our place. And so, you know, we deserve death, but he stood in our place. It's because he loves us that much. And so I highly recommend this. It's definitely one to be looking out for on your radar for next year. I honestly think you could read this really at any time too. It doesn't have to be just Easter. I think that he does a really great job just talking through it in general of what he did for us. It's not like it's just an Easter story. I think that you could read this at any time of the year. Personally, it's not your average devotional. It's going to minister to you, and I highly recommend. Now, there are 3 books that I'm not talking about in this video on purpose. There are some graphic novels and a manga that I've read this month that I'm actually, I guess I have to tell y'all now, I've been working on a vlog since March 17th, okay, for reading graphic novels and manga. Okay, so yeah, that's like my secret vlog that I mentioned. I thought I'd have it done by now, but I don't. So that's the reason, if you've seen on Goodreads or you've seen my blog, there are reviews for those books that I've read, but I kind of want to save that for the actual experience in the vlog itself. So I'm not going to talk about those here anyway. And so there's still a few I have left to finish for that vlog. So hopefully that'll come out soon. What am I currently reading right now? Another one I'm doing a vlog for, and that is The Women by Kristen Hanna. I cannot wait to share the vlog with you guys. I'm not even gonna say right now my thoughts, but you know how like the people have been doing them like silent book reviews right now. I'll be like, I don't know what emotions I'm gonna do. Like, silent book review of this is, you know, like, so good. There's tears, all these things. So I am really enjoying this. I'll tell you. That I will go ahead and say I am enjoying this. So I'm like this much left right here. I'm 50%. Actually, is it this one? Yeah, this way. I was like, which way? This much left. I am 50% in. Highly enjoying this. So I cannot wait for you to see all my thoughts of how the reading experience went. This is a very hyped book right now. It's a secular historical fiction author. So yeah, I'll just let y'all know. Hopefully I can have this done, and maybe the vlog could come out Saturday. I would love that if I could get the footage off my phone for this. So yeah, this is what I'm currently reading. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books. I hope I didn't forget anything. If I did, I'll have to edit it, but I think this is it. I was looking at my blog the whole time, so hopefully I didn't forget nothing. But let's just chat down below in the comments as always. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.